Hello, and welcome back to the Life on the Wrist podcast, where we talk about a bunch of topics when it comes to the watch world, everything from vintage to modern. We covered just about all of it. Today, we've got a few things we wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about Blancpain's 50 Fathom 70th Anniversary Act 3. They released a piece at a very good time, I think, for the brand, and I thought I would give my thoughts on it. I'll also speak about a couple of auction houses that have some online sales, and also one that is having an in-person sale with some extremely exceptional pieces. So we can dive into the Blancpain 50 Fathoms first. So last week, or I guess 2 weeks ago at this point, Blancpain and Swatch announced that they would be releasing a collaboration where they released a series of watches that took their inspiration from the Blancpain 50 Fathoms, but made in a Swatch case. This obviously sort of followed the Swatch Speedmaster that they released a couple of years ago, and obviously the world went crazy for this extremely collectible watch, or I guess line of watches. This really got people interested in Blancpain, and I can say for a fact that people who may not have known who Blancpain was before the collaboration with Swatch definitely started to know about them. And I think what Blancpain ended up doing was capitalizing on exactly that. So a lot of the pieces they released actually took some inspiration from vintage 50 Fathoms, for some of the mil-spec 50 Fathoms that were created. And for Blancpain's 50 Fathom 70th Anniversary Act 3, which they released last week, they released a piece that essentially was a vintage nod to the original mil-spec 50 Fathoms. The watch is a 41 millimeter 9-carat bronze gold piece that has all the finishings of a watch that you would absolutely love. It has a black dial with gray-white moisture indicators, which is obviously a nod to the original 50 Fathoms. It has a black ceramic bezel insert, vintage superluminova on the bezel insert and the dial, and also has a display case back to show the movement. It's the automatic movement 1154. That is a no-date version of their 1151. This Act 3 was obviously following Act 2 and 1 that they released for their 7th anniversary of this specific piece, and it comes in 555 pieces with a retail price of 32,000 USD. Now, to release a piece like this that takes a lot of their inspiration from the mil-spec 50 Fathoms is obviously a way to celebrate a very iconic watch in the history of the brand. However, coming on a NATO strap, it also is a way to really get individuals into the vintage 50 Fathoms. And after getting a ton of audience and a ton of eyes on the brand after their release of their collaboration with Swatch, it's hard to think that they didn't time this in a way that would allow for a lot of attention to be given to this specific piece. Now, it is limited, so that is something to consider, and it is considerably more expensive than the original Blancpain Swatch the Blancpain Swatch collaboration. So whether it's going to be for the same market as those who purchased the Swatch, up for debate. And maybe I'm reading a little bit too into it, but I do think it's a great timing for the brand to do something like this, because they have to capitalize on the eyes that were attracted to the brand after this incredible thing that they did with Swatch. So I'll leave a link in the show notes, as I always do, to an article about this piece. It really is worth taking a look at. Moving forward, I want to talk about a couple auction houses. Phillips, I'll start with Phillips. They have their online auction. The Hong Kong Sessions Fall 2023 is currently going on. They have some very cool pieces that you would typically imagine would be in this in online auctions, things like FP Journes, things like Patek Philippe, Rolexes, etc. But I did pull out a couple things that I thought were quite interesting. One of the pieces that I thought was really, really amazing, I saw on Instagram first, and that was the lot 8062. It was a Hermes, which is not something I speak about a lot, but it's a limited edition titanium ultra slim watch with a white gold bezel, Clair de Lune dial, and is number 10 of a limited 36 pieces. What's really amazing about this watch is that it has a really, really amazing dial. It's the Clair de Lune Moonlight, where it basically has the night sky on the dial of the watch. It really is quite spectacular to look at. I highly recommend you checking out pictures of this piece because it really is beautiful. If you flip it over, it also has a display case back with a really beautifully finished movement with a micro rotor, which obviously is something that I speak about a lot, where I find myself extremely intrigued by micro rotors, and I find it a great way to enjoy watches. It still has the sticker on the back, comes with everything complete. Yeah, spectacular piece, and one that caught my eye. Another piece that I thought was quite interesting was lot 8076 from Bulgari. It is one of the limited edition ultra slim titanium chronographs with dual time, and it was made in a limited edition of 200 pieces because it was the 10th anniversary design edition. So in 2022, in celebration of the 10th anniversary of the Octafinissimo, Bulgari released two Octafinissimos, now dubbed the Sketch, where basically they instead of having printed dials or the dials that originally came with these Octafinissimo, the dial basically has the printed version of what the design of the dial was, that executive producer Fabrizio Stigliani created for these pieces. I do think it's a unique Bulgari. I do think the Octafinissimo is one of the greatest pieces to come out recently, and this I think is a very interesting piece if you are looking to collect maybe something on the modern side that has some rarity to it. Speaking of rarity, the lot 8080 is I mean, I honestly can't believe that it is being sold. Is the Hublot Hodinkee collaboration. This was the limited edition titanium watch with date. The watch is number 33 of 100 and was made in collaboration with Hodinkee to basically pay, I guess, homage to the idea that Hublot used to give pieces that were essentially loaners when their watches were being serviced. So on the dial, this piece is not for resale. There's a lot that could be said about this piece, considering the fact that it was very difficult to get a hold of these when they did come to market. I will say this is definitely someone who's trying to capitalize on I guess, an allocation or a purchase. But each to their own. If that's something that they want to do, I hope they enjoy it. It will be interesting to see where these go. Recently, MB&F released, or I guess Max Busser released the fact that the Mad 1 Red was being discontinued and followed by the Mad 1 Green. There is a lottery that is open for the purchase of one of those Mad 1 Greens, so I encourage you to participate and sign up for the possibility to purchase one of them. But if you aren't able to do that, there is a Mad 1 Blue and a Mad 1 Red being sold at Phillips. The blue is lot 8085 and the 8086 is the Mad 1 Red. It's interesting to see one of the Mad 1 Blues, especially because it was given to one of the one of the tribe members, but hey, is what it is. That being said, it's an opportunity to get some pretty cool independent, or I guess something unique from MB&F, or I guess the Mad Gallery. So I encourage you to check it out. Moving on to Sotheby's. Sotheby's is hosting their Fine Watches online auction. Some pretty interesting pieces that they've been able to source. I will say it is definitely Rolex heavy. There are some really great Paul Newman Daytonas. There is quite a nice yellow gold Daytona 6263 that's in interesting condition. But there's also some vintage pieces like a 4062 from Rolex. There's also a 6234 pre-Daytona. There's a big red. They then go into sort of modern Daytonas as well. They have some steel vintage, so GMTs they've got on this auction, but they really do run the gamut of Rolex in this auction. There's some nice Patek Philippe's as well. There was a couple of pieces that I thought were quite interesting. They're towards the end of the auction, but as I said, they have a lot of the pieces that people are looking for to add to their collections. One of the things that I found interesting, and I'm just getting to the lot here, was a series of coin watches. So lot 475 is a Rolex reference 3612. That is in it's a Rolex Cellini inside of a coin. There's also a Corum coin watch and also a Piaget coin watch. So those I thought were quite interesting. One of my favorite lots is definitely the lot 480, which is a Thunderbird reference 6782 with a really incredible bezel. I'm sure you probably have heard of them, but if you haven't, check out the links in the show notes because I do think those are pretty great. And then one other piece that I wanted to mention was a really, really cool, and this is only for those who like to see maybe some age on the case of a watch, is lot 485. It is a Vacheron Constantin from 1960 that has an incredible dark red oxidation around the bezel of the watch. It has a black dial too, and so it really looks incredibly cool on the yellow gold case. The pictures are incredible. I think I might be posting this on our Instagram tomorrow because it really is so cool. If you like oxidation on cases, I encourage you to see this. So that's Sotheby's. The other thing I wanted to mention was Monaco Legend Group. So Monaco Legend Group is also going to be hosting a in-person auction, but you will be able to, I think, bid online from the 21st and 22nd of October. And they've been teasing some of the pieces that they have sourced for the auction, and they finally released some of the catalog for this specific auction. The pieces are, what Monaco Legend Group is really doing is bringing to market some of the most significant watches in the history of watchmaking, essentially. One of their cover lots is an incredible Patek Philippe with a black dial brigade numbers and leaf hands. I believe it is. I will just find it right now. The catalog is it will be linked in the show notes. So if you are in need of seeing that, but it is essentially a unicorn reference 530 in steel with incredible brigade numbers and leaf hands, sold in 1941 with a black dial. Incredible, like truly incredible. Further, they have a really unique piece that is a Patek Philippe in platinum dating to the 1920s with center seconds, a square-shaped, oversized case in platinum with an Art Deco dial and brigade enamel numbers. Incredibly rare. They also have one of their other cover lots is an extremely unique Cartier Magnum tank in yellow gold with a calendar that's powered by an Audemars Piguet movement made in 1964. It's confirmed by the archives that this was actually a watch that was sold. So, some incredible pieces. They've got a 2497 Petrol calendar in yellow gold with center seconds. They've got a really beautiful 6062 from Rolex with a incredibly aged dial, one of 150 examples that were produced or surfaced on the market with in yellow gold. Super important. I could literally go on and talk about the incredible pieces that they have sourced for this auction. So much more. I think there's a buyer signed vintage Nautilus, which is also incredibly rare. But I can continue to go on and on. I'm going to put a link in the show notes to the catalog so you can see it, because it is worth perusing if you honestly just want to see some really nice watches and of exceptional quality. And I think that's what you're always going to get from the Monaco Legend Group. So check out the show notes if you would like to see that. I think that will bring this episode of the Life on the Wrist podcast to a close. It's pretty incredible. Since the beginning of the podcast, we are now at episode 148. I think this is like maybe episode 30 of season 4. So it's been a wild journey. I look forward to making more and more of these podcasts as we continue to go on. If you are new to the podcast, be sure to follow us and share this podcast with a friend who might be interested in a watch podcast. And if you are feeling generous and wouldn't mind rating this podcast, it really does help get this podcast out there to more listeners who might be interested in watches. And it will be suggested to those who might have an interest in some of the topics that we are speaking of. There'll be links in the show notes to all of our, normal links to our website, our YouTube channel, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. So if you want to check out some more of our stuff there, you can do so. With that said, guys, I hope you have a great rest of your day, rest of your evening, rest of your week, and we will see you in the next one.